What's the matter with kids these days? It's more of a complaint than a question, and it dates back long before the 1963 movie Bye Bye Birdie made it an everyday expression. The generation that follows your own never quite seems to measure up. The greatest generation spawned the baby boomers, and the boomers gave birth to the millennial generation, so named because they are coming of age in the new millennium. Born between 1981 and the year 2000, there are some 75 million millennials in this country, and they're ready to take over the workplace. Though plenty of people think the new kids in the office have a lot to work on. There was a headline that said, "We are raising a generation of deluded narcissists." Do you believe that to be true?
Well, we do know from looking at narcissism scores among college students from the 80s to more recently that this generation does score a little higher on narcissism. However, that's certainly not all of them. It's just that it's moved from maybe 1 out of 8 to about 1 out of 3 who score very high in narcissism.
Jean Twenge is a professor of psychology at San Diego State University. Twenge has poured through decades of self-assessments by millions of young people, in which they reported how accomplished, how motivated, and even how special they consider themselves. The title of Twenge's book about millennials, published by Simon & Schuster, a CBS company, seems to say it all. One of Twenge's research papers lays it out in stark terms. Millennials in the workplace are defined by, quote, the combination of not wanting to work hard, but still wanting more money and status.
This generation's facing a challenging, competitive job market. And the problem is, as I see it, they haven't been prepared for things to be so challenging. Perhaps because they got so much praise growing up and they got a trophy just for showing up when they did sports leagues. Unfortunately, the workplace doesn't work that way. You have to do a lot more than show up.
Are millennials adapting to the workforce, or is the workforce adapting to them?
That's exactly the question that's going to shape the next 10 years.
The beginning of 2015 marked the point when millennials became the dominant generation in the American workforce. More than 1 in 3 workers are now millennials.
Chet, what did the market research turn up?
What? Oh, I Googled them, but the results were weird.
You didn't use the market research database that we spend thousands of dollars a month on and that you were specifically trained to use.
This clash of generations has been parodied on YouTube.
I quit.
A very millennial media outlet. The video mocks both millennials as well as those boring, over-the-top corporate training films.
Here's that report that you asked for.
Thanks.
Morgan did exactly what was asked of her. Nothing more, nothing less. She expects a raise and promotion.
Thanks. Junior Executive Manager of Data Consulting.
Is that better than Assistant Manager of Junior Accounts?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Hey, Drew.
The video was made by Stefan Van Engen, age 39, a member of Generation X, who works at Bedrocket Media, which is largely staffed with millennials.
I don't think of this generation as the most self-deprecating generation. I think they're very sensitive.
Van Engen estimates 3/4 of his audience are millennials themselves, so keeping them in on the joke is essential, even if the truth sometimes hurts.
The need for praise is absolute. That is a big, in my opinion, issue in our generation. We don't particularly respond well to criticism, and we absolutely want praise immediately.
Erin Lowry created the blog Broke Millennial to share advice and network with her fellow millennials trying to enter the workforce after the Great Recession. Although she spreads her gospel online, Lowry sees internet culture itself as part of the problem.
If you put a picture on Facebook, you want to be in double, triple digit likes by the next hour or two. You know, if you put something on Facebook and nobody likes it, it feels like, oh, I failed. And it's the instant gratification cycle that we've gotten into that has led to a bit of a problem in the workforce as well.
But Lowry points out the craving for positive feedback can get positive results.
Okay. If you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be a creator, if you want to start something your own, you have to have, to a degree, a delusional, narcissistic belief that you can do it.
Just consider these millennial success stories. Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, Iraq veteran turned Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, or biotech billionaire Elizabeth Holmes.
The stereotypes we hear are that millennials are narcissistic, that they're overconfident, that they don't respect authority or the way things have been done.
What generation doesn't have those feelings? I grew up in the 60s. We were totally rebellious, and I think it's part of being young.
Doug Woods is a baby boomer, an unabashed advocate of the millennials he employs at his Northern California construction firm, DPR. A recent survey reports only about a quarter of millennials believe their employer is taking advantage of their full potential.
When I started out, I told the president of the company when he first interviewed me, he asked what I wanted to do. I said I wanted his job. I hate that where I used to work, the leader used to talk about people weren't ready because they didn't have enough gray hair. To hell with that. There's some really smart people out there. Work with them and let them help you grow.
You're a millennial at heart. I think this is why this is working out for you.
Maybe.
You all fall into this category of millennials. Do you like the term? Do you use the term?
Never.
I feel like we don't really compare ourselves to other generations, and it's just, we're people.
DPR's millennial employees, Alice Lee Young and Michael Pearson, may not embrace the label, but they confess it sometimes fits.
I mean, yeah, at times I certainly am a little bit impatient, and I do find myself, if that's a characteristic of our generation, then that's why I'm it.
The way Deepti Bodkamkar and Brian Bolandi see it, those traits are nothing to apologize for.
The whole idea of everyone's a winner, you can be anything you want when you grow up. Did you hear those things growing up?
Kinda.
Does it set you up for disappointment, though, at some point when you realize there is a limit?
That's life. You're not always going to get what you want, but you can, if you set your goals higher than, that are really attainable, and if you fall short, you've still done great.
And now that millennials are settling into the office, it won't be long before they get to work on worrying about the next generation.
I'm 28 years old and I found myself saying kids these days.
Oh, see, it's happening to you already.
What just happened?
It's a slippery slope.